let's move to this other judgment debt that the commissions looked into, and it has to do with the compensation of $2.6 million. And President Kufuor has been cited in that as having acted in such a bad manner because he ordered the payments to the is it Carmichael family?
Carmichael.
Yes, Carmichael family on the eve of his exit of office, and that the amount that had been ordered was such outrageous because that was not what ought to have been ordered. The initial debt, as at sometime in the 70s, was 20 Ghana cedis. Then we came to pay, by the time the president was exiting and issuing the warrant for it to be paid, it was $2.6 million, not Ghana cedis. How 20 cedis, you know, changes itself into this is so interesting. Yeah. Again, if I could start with Abraham, what is your reading of this particular finding?
President Kufuor, I have a great deal of respect for him, particularly in retirement. I have no difficulty with him ordering payment on the eve of his exit because he was still the president. So his tenure of office would only expire the following day.
So you disagree with the commissioner on that because he said that is bad?
No, on that one, you are still the president till the day you hand over.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that at all.
Okay.
The fact that you are handing over and you are no longer going to be the president the following day doesn't mean that government must come to a standstill.
Okay.
Unless there's a law that says.
But your concern is what?
My concern is the rapidity with which the payment was done. I don't think that's how we release funds from the Ministry of Finance. The rapid nature, the same day. If that were the case, I don't think contractors...
Explain to our viewers and listeners who may not have had the benefits of the documentation. You say the rapidity. How did it work?
Well, then let me go back a bit. One would have expected the Lands Commission to be part of these processes.
Right.
Because the Land Commission, that will do the evaluation and determine the amount of money to be paid. It appears to me, reading from the report, that this amount was an amount that was figured out by President Kufuor to hand over to the family. Now, the Land Commission was not part of this. That, for me, is also one minus. The next thing is, President Kufuor, now ordering or instructing the Minister of Finance to pay the money. And
he wrote to the AG. Is it the AG then that wrote?
Okay.
And it was Justice VCRAC Crab who wrote on behalf of the Attorney General, and then immediately he got to the Finance Ministry, got to Controller, and within the same
on that same
day, the payment was effected.
And these are about 4-5 different agencies, and we know that even in one agency, when you are tracing a document, it could take you 3 weeks just in one agency.
Months.
Exactly. So if you have 4 different agencies coming together and yet you could transact business with them for the money to release that same day, that smacks of some fishy deal. And that's where I have my challenges with what the former president did. But the ordering of payment of the money, which for me was wrong, because Land Commission was not part of it, and also the rapid nature with which that money was paid. I think that we need to get a response from him on this matter. It is so damning that it cannot be let to go as a former president with that stature. He has international clout. He's not just a former president who is sitting at home. And so we will need to have an official response from him. He needs to come out to at least deal with some of the issues.
Let me pick comments and come back to you. And a portion of the reports, the findings, this is what one of the comments that the commission made. Though the Constitution mandates the President a 4-year term in office ending on the 6th of January, the timing of some actions by the President must be regulated. The instruction by the President to the Attorney General to pay the $2.64000 US dollars the directive by the Attorney General to the Minister of Finance following the instruction from the President and the request by the Minister of Finance to the Controller and Accountant General to release the money all happened on the same day, i.e. the 6th of January 2009, the eve of the President's exit from office. The tentative with which the whole exercise was carried out on the President's last day in office calls into question the propriety of the payment. Gabi, you don't agree with this?
I think when the impression is created, because that's what it is, the impression is created that the President did it for a reason that was improper. That I have issues with.
What will make a president want to have an interest in such a matter that
Absolutely.
he pushes it through on the same day?
Now, what it
like
is,
that?
what it is, first of all, you are looking at an issue. It's not even an issue of a Ghanaian, as it were, because it's quite clear that the British government itself had an interest in this. I'm just saying, So, to create the impression, because the impression is being created as if no valuation was done before the President ordered the payment.
No, the commission doesn't say so.
Yeah, but
The commission says our last commission were supposed to do the evaluation.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the impression is being created that the President did it without valuation. But that's not the position of the President.
No, the position I find in this report is that there was a valuation done.
Yeah.
And that valuation was done far back in the 70s. And that valuation brought up the amount of 20 cedis, 20 Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
When the amount is due to be paid,
Yeah.
you pay based on that same valuation. You don't you don't vary it in a certain way. You may have to pay with interest.
No.
But there was a revaluation
Yeah.
which was instructed by Obeda Samoa at a point,
Yes.
and then another one in Kufuor's time before it was paid.
But
all was wrong.
But whatever it is, there's nothing wrong, because look, if I've been asking for compensation for my land for 40 years, and the valuation was done 40 years ago, and you agree to pay me today, the valuation will be based on today's value.
No, but the law says you don't do it that way. So stick to the law.
No, the law did not. I'm not too sure. You have to read the law properly. The law does not say that inflation should eat into what is due me.
He's not talking about inflation.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying the law does not say that inflation should eat into what is due me. So don't pretend as if you look at one law in isolation from because even when you go to court in other matters generally, they look at all that. It's the value that matters. It's not what the value was. It's the value that matters. So I think really, I first of all, I haven't had time to go through the details, but I find it. I mean, what I'm seeing as a very worrying trend is that it appears the commission was somehow set up to do some level of equalization.
Maybe you should read it then.
Yeah, I'm saying because we all followed. I mean, on the drill ship, for instance, it looks like a third of the commission's time was used on the drill ship, when they had like how many cases to look at. So it's really, and I'm very sorry that Justice Apau had to be put in this situation.
Okay, yeah. See, one part, and he says these are lessons, part of the lessons and recommendations. The governments must be mindful of the fact that as much as the Constitution permits or allows the state to acquire lands in the public interest and for public purposes, the same Constitution enjoins the state to pay prompt, fair, and adequate compensation to landowners whose lands are compulsorily acquired. And this is what happened in this case. So we're paying them compensation for their lands. And when it was assessed, we didn't pay them at the time. And then it goes on to say, it is therefore incumbent on every government to ensure that funds are readily available before any compulsory acquisition is embarked on for any public project. Such a policy is meant to avoid the state being dragged to court years later for the payment of unwarranted judgment debts that would defeat the purpose of the acquisition, as happened in this case. But of significance in this case is that we are talking about a land of 24,000 acres or so. And out of that number, this family owns only about 2 acres of that land. The rest belongs to other families within the Tongu, they say, area. Yet, this is the money we pay in respect of this family, and these other people who deserve also to receive theirs did not receive theirs. And in any case, the payment ought to have been done by the Lands Commission and not the presidency.
Well, I'm still struggling to get the authority for that proposition, but
it's in the law.
But
it's in the
I share the conclusion, the first part of the conclusion, that until we are very sure that we have adequate funds,
right,
we should not compulsorily acquire property. And fortunately for us, Article 20 of the Constitution clearly specifies that no property of any description or interest in or right over any property shall be compulsorily taken possession of or acquired by the state unless the following conditions are satisfied. Now, I'll skip and go to clause 2. Compulsory acquisition by the state shall only be made under a law which makes provision for the prompt payment of fair and adequate compensation. Prompt payment. But also important. So, even where the Lands Commission or the Land Valuation Division of the Lands Commission has made the valuation, a person can have access to the High Court to determine his interest or the amount of compensation. So when you are dissatisfied with the compensation made by whoever, you can still go to the High Court, and the High Court has jurisdiction to vary it. Then, number 2, talking about the payment. I mean, we are talking about it must be prompt. Are we saying that when the executive takes a decision, let's say, for example, first of all, I do not think it is right to say that the term of a president ends on 6th of January.
It ends on the eve.
Well, what is here states that, in fact, it is written in bold, on the 6th. It doesn't even end on the eve.
It said
For me, it does not even end. The eve means the day before.
It ends on the 7th.
It ends on the 7th until the next president is sworn into power, because he can even declare a state of emergency to extend his term. It's there. So until the morning when, or the afternoon, when the other person, or if it's himself, as President Mahama did recently,
there's no vacuum.
There cannot be any vacuum. And any decision taken, even on the 7th, fortunately, it has not been described as being illegal or unconstitutional.
But you don't find anything improper about this process?
Something,
look into your heart and say you don't find anything
if something is improper, it's not the same as being illegal or unconstitutional.
What is your verdict? He says this is improper. What do you say?
The executive has taken a decision.
What do you say? Is it proper?
I'm saying that I have nothing, I can't see anything wrong with that.
Because that's why you are here.
No, but I'm saying that I cannot see.
No, you have pointed to the report and spoken to how illogical and flawed portions of it are.
Yes.
So this is also a place where I'm requiring your judgment.
My judgment is that I don't see anything wrong with what the executive did. Or you want me to agree?
You are a lawyer. When you have won a certain debt and you want to take it from the ministry, you know that it could take you a year before you get that money.
But isn't this a settlement?
But my point is that
they were asking for $20 million.
You see, let's not also forget about the number of years that these people have had to wait, all because of the default of the state. What about that?
The report said we cut out to the British High Commission because
we were
put pressure.
They were asking for $20 million.
So you see,
I like that expression. He said we were peppered, and we should be careful about that.
I think pepper was put in there. So my point is it illegal? It may be immoral, but is it illegal?
Is it even immoral? Is it even immoral?
Well, I mean,
it's not immoral.
So,
Gabi, wait. You said it may be immoral, so that's what it is.
Some may hold that view, but I don't.
You don't.
I'm saying that we should be careful with questioning executive decisions. We have 3 organs. We should be careful with the what we put on the decision of the executive.
We are holding them accountable.
Absolutely.
Of course, I have nothing wrong with
we are
it.
holding them
For
accountable.
me, if it is
now
unconstitutional or illegal,
hear this part too.
I was
Hear
going
this part
to
too.
touch on the family one.
Hear this part too. He says, when the land was acquired in 1976, the assessed value of compensation for the portion owned by the bill, that is the
project,
this particular project, that measuring about 1,800 acres, which the company accepted was 200 and something, cedis, which is 20 Ghana cedis today.
Yeah.
This amount was, however, not paid. About 30 years down the line, the state was made to cough up 2.6 something million for the same $1 million for the same piece of land, when nothing had been paid to the indigenous landowners who owned the remaining 23,000 acres. The commission views this as quite insensitive, unconscionable, and unfair to the local people and their children yet unborn, who have their lost lands forever, who have lost their lands forever as a result of this acquisition, the purpose of which land totally failed.
So is he recommending that they be paid?
The family.
Yes, he has recommended
that
they be paid.
See where there
The
is
state should go
compulsory
ahead.
acquisition.
The state will
Two
not
people
pay
may be
those
affected.
people, because
The one who has
the land was
can I
acquired
make
from
my
the
point?
Michael family from those people. The state doesn't pay.
The person who has
But I'm saying,
the person who
he's
has
recommending. So they should go
interest
ahead.
in it, in the sense of being the original owner of the land itself, and the person, let's say the Ebunu or Ebusaman, who has planted cocoa farms on it, both persons must be paid compensation because the land is taken away forever. So,
And in the case of the foreigners, they had title only up to 50 years.
yes, well, it doesn't matter.
So we
because
take care
have
of them and we leave the indigenous
no,
people.
but then
This
the
is-
indigenous people have access to the High Court.
Yeah.
Why don't they use the processes? It's obvious the state will usually not pay you compensation until you go to court. Usually. They will not. So why is
No,
it
I don't
that...
think that is correct.
No, I'm saying that usually. I'm not saying that always.
No, that's rather the exception.
Well, but at least speaking from my own experience, there are some I have done. I'm saying that. So why we should also advise them to go to court. I'm very sure that when they go to court, they may even get more than the commission itself may, in a way, quote and unquote, impose on them. I will encourage them. There are many people who will even be ready to do this thing for them because of the problem. But now that the commission has made a recommendation, which when the various applicable conditions are satisfied, it becomes the judgment of the High Court. I think they can take an issue on it and ensure that the state pays them. The difficulty is whether they can still go to the High Court this time, now that it may become the decision of the commission of inquiry. You understand?
Okay, so we took over.
I
We took
think
over that piece of property, and we wanted to manage it ourselves. And is it the Ministry of Trade and Industry or Finance, which has a project there? And this is the report that has come that right now the Aveime Livestock Project, from a visit made to the farm by a research team from this commission, is a pale shadow of the intended project. The project, which is currently being managed by the Ministry of Finance, has a staff strength of about 20 whose salaries and wages have been in arrears for about 2 years now. Something serious must be done to save the project from total collapse. So why did we pay the money in the first place, Kweku? We took over a property because we wanted it, and we have let it,
Don't follow.
This particular case is part of the legacies of military rule. That's what we shouldn't forget. And it has a history. I recall not too long ago, well, let's say it's been some time now, 2009, somewhere in August, in Parliament, this issue came up when, if you recall, Dr. Komna, the former finance minister, Dufo, when he launched the first budget, he raised the issue of judgment debts and attributed the bulk of it to the Kufuor administration. So just in terms of line of liability. And Ugati contested in the course of the parliamentary debate. And Jogate made a point about the fact that this is a long history dating from the era of military reign. And the point that he, Jogate, actually had to negotiate deals with the solicitor.
Sorry, but I need to interrupt and make this announcement. I'm told that residents whose houses were demolished at Aveno are upset and have blocked roads that go through the vicinity because, according to their opinion leaders, they were not informed. And the attention of the police service is being drawn to this to avert chaos, because presently it is a sight you would not like to see. That residents whose houses were demolished at Aveno are upset and have blocked the roads that go through the vicinity. And a lot of places we have to use that place. So the police has to get there, and it is urgent. Please. Yes, Kweku.
Yes, and if you permit me, this is what Jogate said. He says, we handled this, he was rebutting Mr. Adu-Faustin. We handled this matter at the highest level, and I personally commenced negotiations with the solicitors for the family. Subsequently, Justice Crabbe was tasked to continue the negotiations, and the amount that is to be paid is as a result of these negotiations, which saved the country millions of pounds. The Carmichael family waived millions of pounds of interest. The MPP's good governance saved Ghana money. That's the other side. Now, you see, you read that portion from the commission's report, and then you see the point about the president's instructions, the Attorney General's directive to Finance Ministry.
With the speed of lighting.
Yes, and the impression you get, if you don't have some extra information, is that all that led to the payment of the compensation on the same day. That's the impression I got.
That's what it is.
It's not true. It can't be. Listen.
Or at least the processes to pay were completed that day.
Yes, but so I'm drawing that extension. Because if you recall, in the course of the transition from the Kufuor administration to the Mills administration, the Mills administration, using the transitional team period, actually caused the suspension of payments of certain things that the Kufuor administration had put in place. Now, if you look at the Commission's own report, this one, you see the attachments, where they talk of analysis of judgment debt and akin payments made in 1996, 2004 to 2011. If you come down to look for Carmichael 1, the payments, I think, were done in 2 installments. 28th April 2009. Then the second one is 27th May 2009. So I'm assuming that when the transition team caused the suspension of those things, they did a review. And when they did a review, they came to the conclusion that indeed this payment was legitimate and ought to be effected. So yes, all the instructions and things were laid January 6th, if you like, but payment was effected somewhere in April and May. I think it's a factual presentation I want us to get clear. If the incoming government had seen anything irregular about that decision taken by President Kufuor, I'm sure they would not have effected payment, in my candid opinion. Beyond that, President Kufuor is alive, isn't he? He has an office. Even if you wouldn't call a former president to appear physically, you can communicate to the office for the office to give an input. I'm wondering whether Jogate and Justice Crabbe were also called. If they were not, whether they were asked to make an input through documentation. Sometimes you don't need to call the person personally if indeed you think the person's physical presence is not material. But some form of documentation from the person could also help. Because see, this thing has a history of twists and turns. And the longer we stayed liable to them, the more the interest on the matter was building. And this is part of the thing. I think the Commission itself makes that observation in so many areas about the inertia on the part of the state in dealing with issues that lead us to more bureaucracy. It mentions it very strongly.
So this was not a judgment that was fast-tracked for a friend or anything?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was fast-tracked because he had been hanging on since...
For a long time. It's like the Rockshell one.
And the laws were breached in the payment. Yeah. That is of keynote to the commission.
If the laws were breached.
educate me.
How were the laws breached?
Where were the laws breached?
That's what I want to know. I want education.
Like I said, I haven't studied the document, so you tell us where the laws were breached.
Let me read you just a portion of some of the correspondences that went through.
No. The conclusion of the commission.
Yes, the commission. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
He refers to one of the solicitor's letter about. He says that from the solicitor's letter of 31st January 1978.
78?
78.
Yes.
Wow.
200 and so Ghana cedis, or cedis then, was quoted as the valuation price of the buildings, and 129, almost 200 for the land.
Yeah.
The position of the chief lands officer to offer compensation of 200 for structures only, without any mention of land compensation, goes to buttress the commission's suspicion that the state might have acquired the land earlier but delayed in issuing an executive instrument to cover it, suggesting that the bail was not entitled, that's the family, they put their project together and call it bail, was not entitled to any land compensation. Indeed, if they had any interest in the land at all, it will be the remainder of the term of the years acquired in the lease, if any. Revision or revaluation of compensation value on the 5th of March, 1987. The then Attorney General, Dr. Obeda Samoa, per a letter with reference number D4/SF8, requested the then Land Valuation Board, now Land Valuation Division of the Lands Commission, to review the valuation placed on the portion of the land expropriated from the family. The Land Valuation Board responded on the 9th of June, 1987, that the State Lands Act 1962 at 125 did not permit or allow for a review or valuation.
Yes, but I still don't get a drift. See, the point where the point where Kufuor is cited, and with the litany of other actions put together, we're given the impression that that was irregular. Am I right? That's the impression we are being given, even if not illegal. We are being told it's improper and irregular. I am saying that those actions on them, their own, don't make it irregular.
So let me give you a law that was breached.
Oh, no, wait. I'm talking of the place that Mr. President Kufuor was cited.
No, we have moved away from there.
Yeah,
and we are talking about the first valuation and the revaluation by Obeda Samoa, and I think another revaluation leading to this. And the commissioner is very clear on that. He says the revaluation of the expropriated land for that family flies in the face of the law, even if the revaluation was a result of delayed payment of compensation. The law is explicit that in case of a delay in the payment of compensation, the initial assessed value be placed in an interest-yielding escrow account. This is to compensate for any erosion in the value of the assessed amount. This position of the law has been given enough coverage in the introduction to this.
So you pay the principal amount, you pay the principal amount, but you pay interest on the
have they told us how much that is?
How you do it.
How much that would have been? Have they told us?
You pay the figure that is established to be paid. Then you pay interest on the figure.
What is that figure?
Of the
simple question. The figure that was paid, the amount that was paid, was it Kufuor's own personal deduction? Was it Kufuor who arrived by that?
Yes.
Can we find out?
It was arrived by a wrong process.
No.
So also he says by pressure from the British.
What would the right process? What would have been the figure?
The amount
Justice Crab did further in negotiations after Jogati. Obviously, something must have been presented to the president for the president to agree that this is the figure going to be paid. I am asking, did the commission get the benefit of how this figure was arrived at?
Yes.
At least by dealing with Justice Crab as well as Jogati.
And what the right figure ought to have been.
The figure that was paid.
So what's the difference between the figure that was paid
that was made not by the Land Commission? And that is...
Oh, yes.
But-
No,
but-
that-
but-
that-
but
that's
something-
not
let me read it,
something
let me read it.
contesting.
Okay.
I'm not
The
contesting
report
that.
notes that the State Lands
We
Act,
understand that.
now this is the
I'm not
it's
contesting
clear
that.
the Lands Commission is the body who should undertake the evaluation and payment of the land compensation.
Yeah.
But in this case, the quantum of compensation paid to the Carmichaels was determined by the President of Ghana.
So what
Yes.
would have been?
Samson.
What would have
Can I
been?
come?
What would have been?
Wait.
Is that
That's a
correct?
breach.
been-
That's a breach.
Gabi, I've heard
He
your
has
question.
evidence that
Yes.
the president determined the figure.
Yes. If
Or
the president
instructed.
commissions a surveyor from somewhere
What
to
are
do
you
it,
talking about?
When
it's
the
the
lands
president.
commission, when the lands commission officials appeared before the commission,
said they
they
had no-
said
Yeah.
they were unaware of these payments.
Yes.
Where were
that's
they
not-
all
that's-
this year?
So
that-
to them,
that is
what would have been
undermining
the
the
right
institution.
figure?
Yes, you see, the,
What would have been the right figure?
the reference
The
to the law,
commission, the land
Right.
commission was doing
reference,
the right thing.
reference to the State Lands Act 125. I think is about a total different matter.
I
Where it says that is six,
and I haven't been paid for 30 years, and I will just rely on that act.
section 1 subsection.
You are a lawyer.
You get interest.
You get interest to,
No, listen.
to cover up for the
Go ahead. Sorry, just
So
let-
what
just
is
let-
it?
Let's hear him.
No.
Yeah.
That's when you
It
should have
states
given
that
the land commission.
you see when there is a dispute, and the dispute usually arises
dispute
from
in this one.
no, please, I'm referring to the law.
There's no dispute on
I'm
this one.
I'm saying I'm referring to the
Okay,
law,
go
so
ahead.
allow me. Where compensation for land is assessed but cannot be paid owing to a dispute, government shall, pending the final determination of the matter, lodge the accrued amount in an interest-yielding escrow account.
And that is what was in this
In
case.
this case,
there was
there's-
a dispute over the quantum.
Yes.
No, the dispute here did not relate so much, or does not relate so much to the quantum.
No,
but
that's what the report says. The attorney generals, from whoever to whoever, to Akufo-Addo, from Obed to Akufo-Addo, was about the quantum.
Yes.
That we had all agreed that they deserve a compensation. But the quantum was the issue.
Yeah.
So he's quoting you the law you have
Yeah,
just
okay,
quoted.
so whose duty was it to have paid this amount since 1972, is it?
78.
Then it should have been
76.
paid then. But mind you, this part was added to this law by the State Land Amendment Act 2000.
Yeah, so it's a law, yeah.
So it was just recently. So if you have to even apply this law, it should be post 2000. When at 86, at 586, so I'm saying
no,
that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
but
I'm not
something,
sure.
we don't have
I'm not sure
any
the
figure
commission
to
made a mistake
compare.
about this one.
No, what I'm
Something.
saying is
We
that
don't
what
have
I'm
the
saying,
figures,
what I'm
no
saying,
figures.
what I'm
Right.
saying
What
is,
figure,
Okay.
if you didn't allow the land commission to do the evaluation, what figure would
But
you
the
have?
commission still could have done some evaluation.
Which land commission?
No, the commission,
Oh,
the
the inquiry.
Apau's commission.
Apau's
Because
commission.
yes, then you come to us and say, if they had gone through the right procedures, this is the amount that ought to have gone to the
Yes.
family.
Sure.
Yet you pay this amount. We don't know the figure. So what are we
and
talking
I don't
Do
think
we
there's
have
a
figure here?
recommendation for us to retrieve
Is
any
there
money
a figure? Have
that
they done
they
any
were
calculation?
unduly
I
paid.
won't
Tell
say
us.
that's voodoo mathematics.
Okay.
I won't say that.
Let's move on from there. So that's about that judgment there that Kufuor has taken a bashing for. That we paid, the spontaneousness in paying 2.6
So
million
how much
plus
should we
land
have paid?
compensation
How
to,
much should we have paid?
to the
commission is not an
British
evaluator.
to the British family on the last day of his stay in office. In fact, the lawyers too. There was an order directly from the presidency,
To give them
and
that-
then the lawyers were paid $240,000.
10%.
Yes, that's 10%. You've done your calculation.
There's something. There's
All right.
one issue
Thank
about
you.
the company.
Yes, he
Payment,
says that
yes.
the money was paid to the family instead of the company because the land belonged to the company. So why didn't they pay
So
to the
seriously, that I agree is the true position of the law. But we need to see
Is
the
the company
check.
still in existence?
That's a
Yes,
very
that's
important question.
that's
Are you
but
doubting
we
the-
need to see. Oh, but there is further information that they even want to come back.
Yes, they want to come
Whether
back.
as individual to form a new company.
They want land to deal in
Well,
cocoa.
as an individual to form a new company. But the point is, first of all, did the check indicate the company's name, or it indicated Carmichael's? I think that
Michael
is
is
also
what is on the
The
platform.
commission says
commission
that is
says-
what happened. It was paid to the
the
individual.
family.
Yeah.
But like
And
Oku is
that's
saying,
wrong.
if
Yeah,
it is
when
the
there
case
is
that
defunct.
the company was defunct at the time,
Yeah. Then the shareholders will be entitled.
Okay, I see. Interesting there. Thank you very much. The commission has really had very harsh words for how we treated
Impudence.
harsh words, impudence, and all of the things, allowing the foreigners to dictate to us and everything else. This show is brought to you
the
by
foreigners
Bank
were
of
asking
Africa.
for $20 million.
Bank of
So
Africa,
they
as strong as a
dictated
group and
eventually.
close as a partner. MTN, welcome to the new world. Sasso Spray, fresh and powerful. Star Assurance, creating smiles since 1985, celebrating 30 years of solid partnership. Lipton Tea, the #1 tea brand. Cowbell Coffee, smile and have a sunshine day. Ibrahim Kopa in Tamale says, the failure of the sole commissioner of judgment debts to invite Nana Addo during its proceedings clearly vindicates the fact that it was more of a political witch hunt towards Nana Addo's persona. Unfortunately, Ghanaians are awake now and treat it with a pinch of salt, the pinch of salt it deserves. Kofi Atta says Mr. Malaba is trying but has failed woefully to defend the injustice of the Judgment Debt Commissioner's failure to hear individuals before making adverse findings against them. My question is, was it part of the commission? Okay. You may not have heard him clearly. If you heard him, he had quite a situation which Kukubako said it seems to have been a review. This one is being sent in by someone in Bolga, and it says, Savior in Bolga, he says, if Kukubako were to do law, corruption would have been history in Ghana.
Is he sure?
Musa Abata says, I'm confused.
So are you saying who will be defended?
Sorry. Says, I'm confused. So are you saying Nana Addo, as former Attorney General, didn't file an appearance in the judgment against Ghana in the case of drill ship saga, which was sold like tomatoes in the Makola, the Makola market? Please, I need clarification. The point of the commission, Musa, is that we did not defend. It's not about not filing. We had already filed. Fuseni Atta says, why didn't the commission invite Nana Addo to the hearing to get the other side of the story? In fact, the commission did not do a great job at all on this case. Yomo in Kumbungu says, no matter how hard the NDC propagandists try, Nana Addo remains incorruptible. He has never been corrupt. He is not corrupt and will never be corrupt. I am, however, worried that the sole commissioner seemed to have toed the line of the NDC's propagandists. Akwesie Champong says, with information available to the sole commissioner on the income generated by the drill ship and the cost of maintenance as read by Kwekubako, one is tempted to ascribe the commissioner's conclusions at profitability as a case of voodoo mathematics. You are quoting Kwekubako. This doesn't belong to you. Akoto Razak in Tamale says the accounts of the people who have appeared before the Judgment Debt Commission, apart from Nana Addo, gave the indication of mismanagement caused by MPP government. Stevens in Techiman says the value of the cedi today is worth a double tomorrow. 20 cedis then cannot be considered as the face value in the current economic situation due to factors like inflation and interest rate. The land needs to be evaluated at the current nominal rate. So the land is worth the amount. A Champong says, I believe it is more immoral for the state to forcefully take anybody's land, fail to pay compensation and of 20 cedis, then for over 30 years and still expect to pay same amount to the landowners after many years, with even with compound interest yielding has never been at par with the rate of inflation and devaluation. Okay, so get the commissioner right. He didn't say 20 cedis ought to be paid. In fact, when the revaluation was done, it went to 45 cedis or so. He says that it ought to have been paid with interest. That is the law. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back to look into some more judgment debts and the indictments made by Justice Apau. Hannah Tete in judgment debt, and also Dr. Obed Asamoah in judgment debt. All of them causing financial loss. What should happen to them? We'll be right back.